Welcome to the Faith-Focused Free Thinking Podcast, a ministry of Ozaki Congregational Church in Grafton, Wisconsin. This is our 8th episode, and we're glad you're with us. Hello, I'm Jeff Larson. Thanks so much for joining us here at the Faith-Focused Free Thinking Podcast, where we think faith is important, but we think it's also important that we think. We're not afraid to ask the difficult questions. We're okay for people to answer those questions in different ways. We don't just take the answers we're given. We want to think through things. Today, I want to talk about why I think the church is important. If you were with us last time, you know I shared my spiritual journey with you and how I've sort of arrived at embracing the idea that the love of God is unconditional for all of us, that God is going to redeem everything and everybody, that God is going to save everybody. And some might think, well, if God is going to save everybody, then why is the church important? If the church is not here to save people from eternal damnation or to get people to believe the right thing, then what's the church here for? Why is the church important? Of course, there's a number of different ways to answer that question, I suppose, and some people do think the reason the church is here is to represent God in the world and to let people know what God wants of them or what God requires, to get people to believe the right thing and behave in the right way such that God is pleased with them or such that they are in right standing before God so that when they die, they go to be united with God and not to be separated from Him. To me, though, I think the church is important for a number of reasons. But I like to say that the church exists for two primary reasons. Number one, to be a place for people to belong, to be a community of people, a place where people are known, a place that celebrates with people in their joys and suffers with people in their sorrows. We all need community. We all need belonging. And this is why the church is here. The church has been, and for many people still is, the center of the community. It's their connection with people. It's a regularly scheduled weekly gathering of people, oftentimes around a particular set of ideas or set of beliefs, but sometimes just around the common human experience. I think, first of all, the church is a place for people to belong. And second of all, the church is a place to give people hope. We are all looking for hope. We are all looking for meaning and purpose in the world. We want to know that life matters. We want to know that we matter. We're trying to make sense out of the human experience and give ourselves hope not just for this life, but for that which is beyond this life. This is why I think the church is important. It's a place to belong, and it's a place that gives people hope. At a recent Ministers' Fellowship meeting, a group that I'm a part of, we asked the question, what's your pitch? What's your pitch to young people about why their involvement in the church is important, or why the church is valuable, why they ought to attend church, not just listen to church online or listen to different speakers online, but why they ought to attend a church. And of course, we had some different answers to that question, but I think my pitch is this, to young people or to anybody, of why attending church is valuable. I say, look, for an hour a week, or you might call it 2 hours a week, by the time you get there and attend the service and then visit with people afterwards during coffee hour. For 2 hours a week, you will buy yourself a community of people that care about you. And of course, we all need that. Now, some people need it differently than others. Some people are more introverted and need less social interaction than others. Some people have great social interaction and community in other places. Maybe they have a large extended family. So not everybody's circumstance is the same, but we all need people around us. And I don't know of another place out there like the church. Of course, people find community in other places, in their neighborhood or with the people at work or with the families associated with their kids' sports teams. And any positive relationships are good. But there's something unique about the church. I mean, there's no other place that specifically gathers around asking the deep questions of life and around supporting one another on the journey of life. A place that's intergenerational, where there's something for youth and adults and kids. A place that meets 52 weeks out of the year. And you're going to have relationships in other places, but I think there's something really valuable about the community of the church. Whenever I encounter somebody who's in a difficult spot, maybe they need some help, or they come to the church, or I meet them at a gas station or something like that, sometimes I'm able to offer some material or economic assistance in the moment, but I always like to tell people, look, whatever is the difficulty in your life, whatever you're going through, I think what I would encourage you to do is to find a church and go there every Sunday until you know people, until people know you. And then you will have a group of people that will rally around you in the difficulties of life. And you'll be able to rally around other people in their difficulties. Again, we all need community. And I don't know of another place that provides it in the same way as the church. And people find all sorts of reasons not to go to church, not to be involved in a church. Or the church is full of hypocrites, or the people are crazy, or the music is not my style, or the pastor is boring, or whatever. And that may be the case. But for me, I feel like every place I've gone, with all the stereotypes with which I began, I have always found wonderful people who are doing their best to represent the love of God as they understand it, and to navigate life in a way that's positive and to encourage the people around them. And of course, you find some crazy people too. That's just the way it goes. We're all a little crazy. But that's just the nature of humanity. I listened to an episode of the Liturgists podcast recently. It's hosted by a guy named Michael Gungor. And Michael Gungor, he's a musician, had a band called Gungor. He was a pastor for a while. And then his journey led him to sort of abandon the church for a while. And he would have described himself as an atheist, but then came back to faith in a different way. And recently he said he's coming back to the church. And why? He said because all the reasons he had for leaving the church, the people and the perspective or whatever, he said he went away from the church and he found exactly the same thing everywhere else. All the good that humanity is capable of, you can find it in the church and you can find it in the world. And all the bad that humanity is capable of, you can find it in the church and you can find it in the world. And so we thought, you know what? I'm going to give the church another chance. There's something good about the community of the church, imperfect though it is. It's certainly no more imperfect than anywhere else. And I think for me, on the journey that I'm on, I hope I'm getting to the point where I feel like if I wasn't at OCC, I could attend some other church, even an evangelical church, and involve myself in the community of the church without worrying that maybe I see things a little bit differently or they see things a little bit differently. We've come a long way since the church of the 1950s, and I think most churches today, even though they want to hold on to the idea of hell, still they minimize it. There's a greater focus on the love and grace and mercy of God, on God's inclusive nature. There's a greater desire for the church to be not a place of perfect people, but a place of broken people who are doing their best to follow God as they understand Him in the ways that they are able, and to help others to do the same. Of course, I think we have something unique here at OCC, and I'm so glad to be a part of this church. I like to talk about the Sunday that we did where we interviewed an atheist, and then he ended up joining the church. And we're the type of church where it doesn't matter what your perspectives or your beliefs. We're united not by a statement of belief, but by a covenant. Everyone is welcome. We're all on the journey of life and faith. And this particular guy, he found a great community at our church. And I remember talking to him about that one time, and he talked about just the various social circles he had in his life, a social circle at work and a social circle somewhere else, and the social circle he had here at OCC. And he was so glad about that. And here's a young single guy, not in sort of the same stage of life as most people here at OCC, and yet he found something good in the community of the church, even being an atheist. I hope more and more this is what the church becomes, a place for everybody. We all need community. We all need hope. We all need people around us. You are welcome at the church. Give it a shot. You don't have to come here to OCC. Go anywhere. You will be welcome. If what you're missing in your life is community and hope, I think you'll find it at the church. So I guess that's it for today. That is episode number 8. Thank you for joining us. I'd love to hear what you think. You're welcome to join us here at OCC 1142 Lakefield Road in Grafton, Wisconsin, 9:30 a.m. on Sunday morning. We'll see you then.